It's a U-turn that many will claim was inevitable. After protests and threats of legal action from the capital's local authorities, all primary schools in London will now close for the start of the new term. The Education Secretary Gavin Williamson told MPs on Wednesday that the majority of primary schools would open as planned on Monday, January the 4th. But he named 50 education authorities in the south of England, including 22 of London's 32 boroughs, where COVID infection rates were highest, he said, and whose primary schools would be closed to most pupils for the first 2 weeks of term.
We'll be seeing over 85% of primary schools opening on the 4th of January. We want to see those schools that are sadly not able to open on the 4th of January to be opening at the earliest possible moment.
But the government's list included some boroughs where transmission rates are relatively low and omitted others where the rates are high. Now, primary schools in all 32 London boroughs will be closed to all but vulnerable children and those of critical workers.
Myself and a number of council leaders across London have been extremely confused by Wednesday's statement, which didn't make sense to any of us based on the decisions and the data that was published. So we're absolutely delighted that finally the government have listened, because this is the right decision for our children, families and schools tonight.
Government sources have told Sky News that ministers have listened to the concerns raised by council leaders and public health officials and have responded. Mr. Williamson said children's education and well-being remains a national priority. Moving further parts of London to remote education really is a last resort and a temporary solution. As infection rates rise across the country, and particularly in London, we must make this move to protect our country and the NHS. We'll continue to keep the list of local authorities under review and reopen classrooms as soon as we possibly can. The decision has been backed by the Health Secretary Matt Hancock, who says infections have risen sharply across London over the past week. Hospitals are coming under increased pressure and the situation continues to worsen. The government's move has been welcomed, though, by London's Mayor Sadiq Khan, who said it's good news that the government has finally seen sense and announced this U-turn. The government's original decision was ridiculous and has been causing immense confusion for parents, teachers and staff across the capital. It's right that all schools in London are treated the same and that no primary schools in London will be forced to open on Monday. But the decision is a further blow to Boris Johnson's determination to see schools reopen as planned. But though the government insists the decision is a response to COVID rates rising more rapidly, Mr. Williamson will face claims that he made the wrong decision earlier this week. John Craig, Sky News.